A newborn baby, a jealous dog, and a father who police say wasn't paying attention. That combination led to a tragedy and arrests of an entire family. I break down the heartbreaking case. I'm Angenette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Jason Kinsey was a newborn baby, completely helpless and just beginning his life. And like all infants, he spent his days sleeping, waking only to eat. He was dependent on his family for everything. But Jason, seen here in his car seat, didn't live past his 7th day. He didn't die of an illness. He died after he was mauled by his family's dog. That dog named Chomp. Yes, you heard me right. Newborn baby Jason was killed by the family's pit bull mix, Chomp. The story is absolutely horrific, and sadly, it's not unlike other cases that I've covered for you here on Crime Fix in the past. And now, 6 of Jason's family members, including his mother, Violet Weaver, and his father, Austin Kinsey, are facing charges. This case takes us to Markle, Indiana, a small town that sits about 25 miles south of Fort Wayne. It was September 7th, 2025, when a horrific 911 call came in. A baby was in need of serious help. The baby had been attacked. That baby was 7-day-old Jason Kinsey. Detectives began investigating, and they said what they found was disturbing, to say the very least. An officer was quoted as saying when he arrived that he noticed a strong odor of animal trash and dirt everywhere in the home. Now, this home was described as absolutely filthy. The officers said they found bugs in baby Jason's car seat, and there were bugs in the house. Police said the house was full of trash, dirty clothes, and even dirty dishes. An officer wrote in an affidavit, "There was so much trash and debris, officers could barely walk through the home. I also observed numerous cockroaches and flying bugs on the walls, floor, ceiling, and doorways." Now, court documents state that eventually this home was declared too filthy for humans to actually live in. And of course, police interviewed family members. A dog named Chomp attacking a newborn baby severely is just not normal. Police said they found out that Jason's father, Austin Kinsey, was playing video games and left the room for a short time to talk to his mom and Jason's mother, Violet Weaver. And that's when Chomp attacked baby Jason. It was at that time that police say that Jason's grandfather, Timothy Kinsey, burst through the door with Jason in his arms, telling them to call for help. Timothy Kinsey told police he was in the kitchen when he heard Jason making noises and saw Chomp dragging the baby. If this wasn't unbelievable enough, this next part is going to make your blood absolutely boil. Police said that family members told them that Chomp was nice to Jason and rocked his bouncer. But they also said that Chomp could be jealous and had bitten other people and other animals. Detectives said that Rita Wicke, Jason's grandmother, had actually told someone after Chomp had bitten a person that that person could carry a gun into the house and shoot Chomp if absolutely necessary. That's according to reporting from WIFR TV. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Instead of getting rid of the dog, you tell someone, hey, just bring a gun in the house and you can shoot him if you need to. After months of investigation, 6 family members have now been charged in connection to Jason's death. His dad, Austin Kinsey, faces 2 counts of neglect and 1 count of harboring a non-immunized dog that hurt someone. Jason's mom, Violet Weaver, faces 1 count of neglect. His grandfather, Timothy Kinsey, also faces 1 count of neglect. Jason's uncle, Tony Kinsey, faces 1 count of neglect. His step-grandfather, Michael Wicke, faces 1 count of neglect and 1 count of harboring a non-immunized dog. And finally, Jason's grandmother, Rita Wicke, faces 1 count of neglect and 1 count of harboring a non-immunized dog. I do want to let you know that Chomp was euthanized, and a necropsy, that's basically an autopsy on an animal, showed that Chomp did not have any physical abnormalities. So I'd like to bring in Mark Weaver. He serves as a special prosecutor in the state of Ohio, just 1 state over from Indiana to the east. And also, Mark, I wanted to bring you on because you had a case that was eerily similar to this case with Baby Royal over there in the state of Ohio. So I thought you'd be the perfect person to offer some thoughts and some analysis on this case.
Yeah, when I read the facts and the charges, it did bring to mind the case where I prosecuted a mother and a father for leaving their infant little boy alone near a pit bull that had been aggressive towards others before. And the baby was mauled to death by the pit bull.
This case is a little bit different, similar facts, but a little bit different. This baby, poor little baby Jason, was just a newborn. I mean, this makes it even worse. I mean, a baby is a baby. Babies are defenseless. But this was a 7-day-old newborn baby being left unattended with a pit bull. And there weren't even, I'm not talking like just mom and dad in the house. I mean, there were other people, grandparents in the house. So I'm actually curious your thoughts on the charges, because there are 6 people charged in this case, and they're charged with neglect. In your case in Ohio, you charged these people with like involuntary manslaughter. They're charged with neglect, which is bad enough. So what are your thoughts as far as the neglect charge goes in this case?
Yeah, to start out, the family is named Weaver. I'm named Weaver. We're not related. There's a lot of Weavers in America. I don't know these Weavers. But the prosecutor in Indiana is going to have an evidentiary burden to have to show that someone other than the mom or dad had responsibility for this child. Now, I don't know who was living in this house. Any adult living in a house with a child probably has some basic obligation under the law to make sure the child is safe. Mom and dad come first on the list of people who are responsible for keeping a child safe. Anybody who knew about the aggressive nature of this pit bull mix, and in some of the press reports, at least one of the grandparents had said that they knew that this dog had been aggressive towards other dogs. In fact, the father is quoted as saying that he had been thinking about getting rid of the dog, but that this dog was his best friend. We need to stop this, people. Dogs, I have a dog, I love dogs, but dogs are not people. They're not your best friend. If you have a baby that's at risk of an aggressive pit bull mix, best friend or not, you need to get the dog out of the house. And now everyone is going to be criminally culpable, some at a much more serious level than others.
And dogs do not trump babies. I mean, you can think this dog is your best friend, but think about how ridiculous that sounds. You have a newborn baby. It's a human. It is like the fruit of your loins. I mean, come on. I mean, go find somebody to take the dog for a little bit, or separate the dog from the baby. You're saying like the baby, they're quoted as saying Chomp, the pit bull mix, was like, loving on this newborn baby and like rocking the bouncer. Like, I think not. I think that the dog was not doing that. If anything, the dog was probably going up and like, what the heck is this? Like, and may have been jealous of the baby, as the one person said. And I'm thinking to myself, like, it's a newborn baby. I mean, you don't let animals around a newborn baby. Period.
Well, certainly not animals that as a breed have a reputation for being aggressive towards anything it sees as either prey or competition. I know this will spark a big fight in the comments, and I just don't care anymore. There are some breeds of dogs that as a breed are much less aggressive. When we went out and got a dog, we got one of those breeds. And in 11 years, the dog has never bitten anybody. That doesn't mean every pit bull is going to attack every baby. I didn't say that. But we know that pit bull mixes and pit bulls and a couple other breeds, I'm not an expert, there's a few other breeds that are just naturally more aggressive. And the strength of their jaws are such that when they do bite, it's much more damaging to a human.
Mm-hmm. Most certainly. Let's also talk about what the autopsy showed in this case. The autopsy, according to the reporting, showed more than 180 abrasions. several bruises on the boy's head, neck, torso, back, and limbs, major internal injuries like brain hemorrhages, rib fractures, and tears in the lungs. It makes me wonder if the dog had gotten a hold of the baby maybe once before, too.
Well, if that's true, that could certainly be evidence on these charges of them knowing that the dog was dangerous to this baby. Either way, if this goes to jury, the jurors will be very upset about this. I still have the memories of seeing the autopsy photos and the body-worn camera footage of this little baby boy in Ohio who was mauled to death by his family's pit bull mix. And jurors shouldn't have to see that. That's one of the reasons I was willing to resolve the case and not go to trial. But if you have to go to trial, the jurors will have to see it, and they will be very unhappy about this. And so criminal defense lawyers for this family, particularly for the mom and dad, are probably going to look for a way to resolve this without going to a jury.
There's also another piece of this puzzle as far as the neglect charge goes, which I'm still surprised that there's a neglect charge. Not that I'm surprised there's a neglect charge. I should restate that. I'm surprised there's not a more serious charge other than neglect. Maybe that will be added later. But it says that the father of the baby, Austin Kinsey, was playing video games. And there have been so many cases we've seen where parents of children are doing stuff like talking on the phone, playing video games, things of that nature, while not paying attention to their children. And then the children pass away. We've seen this in maybe baby drowning cases and things like that. This says the father, Austin Kinsey, was playing video games when he briefly left the room to talk to his mother and his son's mother. That's what the court records say. So he left the baby, according to the court records, unattended in the car seat with the dog, playing video games, and then leaves the room. So you left this baby totally unattended with a dog that could be vicious.
This is irresponsible, juvenile-like behavior. When a 13 or 14-year-old kid does something stupid, we chalk it up to that their brain is not fully developed. They don't know better. They don't have maturity of judgment. Adults are presumed to have maturity of judgment. And when you have a newborn baby, I've had newborn babies. My wife and I had 2 children. I know what it's like to be around a newborn baby. When you have a newborn baby, most of your waking hours are paying attention to that child, or at least keeping that child near you in such a way that you can monitor not just dogs, but something that might be going wrong with their health, or how hot it is, whether the sun is coming in and maybe they're getting sunburned because they're by a bright window. There's lots of things you do to make sure that your newborn baby is safe, because they don't have much ability to tell you something's wrong. They cry for sure, but it's not that loud compared to a 6-month or a 9-month-old cry. And so responsible parents know that your life changes when you have a baby, which means all your other distractions have to be put on hold for a while until you can figure out how to keep this baby safe.
Totally. I mean, that's your focus, because what they do is, especially when you first bring them home, they wake up every 2 hours to eat, and then they go back to sleep. I mean, that's just what they do. And that's what you do. You wake up with them every 2 hours, or you're hanging out, watching them and making sure they're okay while they're sleeping. Also, it says that basically the house was just filthy. There were bugs, including bugs in Jason's car seat. There was trash, dirty dishes, dirty clothes. I mean, the place was a pigsty. And you've got a newborn baby who is sitting there with bugs in his car seat. I find that just unbelievable. I know that people live like this, but it just boggles my mind.
It's not a question of how much money you have about whether you keep your house clean. You could have a mansion, or you could have a small shed, and either one you could keep clean, particularly when you're bringing home a newborn baby, which is also susceptible to more illnesses, not having built up the immunities yet to most illnesses. And so it's simply not an excuse to say we're down on our luck, we don't have a lot of money. If you have any time at all, you can keep your house clean to make sure that when the new baby comes home, you're not bringing in a baby to an environment where they could get sick, or in this case, be killed by an aggressive pit bull mix.
You know, one of the things that's interesting about this is that this happened at the beginning of September of last year, Mark. And so now we're at, the middle of June of 2026. So that's a good 9 months, and the charges were just filed. So why do you think it took that amount of time, 9 months, to finally file charges in this case? Because if you arrive on scene and you see that you walk into a filthy house and you see that a dog has attacked a baby and killed a newborn baby, I mean, I think your alarm bells would already be going off as a detective, as a prosecutor, that somebody wasn't paying attention to this baby, that a dog shouldn't be around the baby. So you'd be looking into that pretty much immediately.
Certainly the investigation should happen immediately. Now, remember that when you bring charges, you have a speedy trial clock that you have to follow, and prosecutors are constantly thinking about that. It may well be that they tried to get blood results analyzed from the parents to see if they had been taking drugs. And I do know that these labs that do this often are backed up for several weeks. So if you charge somebody and somehow get their blood and then send it away for testing, you may lose 3 or 4 weeks off your speedy trial clock right there. And even if you charge them at a lower level and wait on the more serious charges, you still have to think about speedy trial clock. Having said that, I'm sure the prosecutors would have better information they could provide us why it took this long. For me, what matters is justice will be done in this case.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to talk about the charges. I mean, we have 6 people facing charges here, and I want to go through them really quickly. Of course, the baby's father, Austin Kinsey, he's facing 2 counts of neglect and 1 count of harboring a non-immunized dog. So Chomp was vicious, I guess. You would call it a vicious dog, but he was also non-immunized, and it was a non-immunized dog that hurt somebody, killed the baby. That's the charge. The baby's mom, Violet, she's accused of 1 count of neglect, and then the baby's grandfather, Timothy, is accused of 1 count of neglect. The baby's uncle, Tony, is also accused of 1 count of neglect. Step-granddad, Michael Wicke, 1 count of neglect and also harboring the non-immunized dog. And then the baby's grandma, Rita Wicke, she's accused of 1 count of neglect and 1 count of harboring a non-immunized dog. So they're all charged because they were all living in the house. And the prosecutor is obviously saying in this case, they all had a duty to ensure that that baby was safe. They're all adults, and they're saying they all had a duty to ensure that that dog was not around the baby.
Yeah, I believe the prosecutor had probable cause to bring these charges because it's one of the rules of ethics for prosecutors that you have to have probable cause to bring charges. Having said that, as prosecutors, we often bring charges against a variety of people, knowing that some of them will be given immunity to testify against the other ones. And so the way this case would resolve, potentially, which would be typical of cases like it, is some of the people with less culpability would be given immunity, meaning they wouldn't be charged or their charges would be dismissed in return for testifying about particularly what the dad or what the mom and dad knew. I will say this. As a defense lawyer, I would be worried that when the jury found out that they decided to name their pit bull mix Chomp, that is evidence that they think it's cool that this dog likes to bite. When we bought our dog, we wanted a dog that wasn't going to bite. There is sadly a subculture in America, both city and rural, of having a cool, aggressive dog makes you cool and aggressive. I don't know if that's happening here. I know it happens elsewhere. And it probably happened in the case that I prosecuted, where the dog was Kilo, kind of a drug reference. And so there is a subculture that having a dog that's likely to bite is a good thing to have. And grandparents, you know what? It's your obligation to speak into the lives of your adult children when they become parents and show them the way. And so I could see the prosecutor bringing these charges, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of these folks entered into plea agreements to testify.
I'm still curious as to why there's not a heftier charge other than neglect? I mean, I'm not saying it's not a serious charge, but I'm still wondering why there's not a charge regarding the actual death of the child. And so, something regarding the actual death of the child. So are you curious about that, Mark, as a prosecutor?
Yeah. I'd like to know more of the facts. The culpability of any particular defendant is driven typically by the level of knowledge or level of awareness they have of the crime. So simply being related to this family doesn't get you culpability. If you're an uncle who lives in another state, has never seen the baby, you don't have any culpability. If you're a relative living next door and you're in that house every day, you know about that dog, you've seen that dog attack other dogs or snip or snap at humans, then you may have a level of culpability that others don't have.
Yeah, it's horrific. We're going to keep an eye on it. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And you can check out Mark's new book, God Bless America, 250 Years Strong. It's a book made for kids. It's for sale on Amazon. And of course, we will keep an eye on this case for you and let you know what happens. That's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.